Imagine this, you wake up, and before the noise of the world enters your mind, before news, texts, or anything digital, you give yourself a moment, not out of luxury, but necessity. For women over 60, the pace of life may seem to slow down on the outside, but internally, many things are shifting, physically, emotionally, mentally. That's why how you start your day matters now more than ever. And it doesn't start with movement, food, or even a to-do list. It starts with stillness. Mind your show. Just a few quiet minutes before the world begins asking things of you. Each morning, I encourage you to sit quietly, not to escape the world, but to meet yourself, fully awake, fully present. Sit on the edge of your bed or in a quiet corner, close your eyes and breathe deeply, slowly, intentionally. So you are not just breathing oxygen, you are bringing yourself back into the body, back into your moment. This is not meditation for the sake of spirituality. This is presence for the sake of clarity. So many people today wake up and immediately hand their attention over to the phone, the news, the outside world. They trade their peace for distraction. But when you are over 60, every day is a chance to take your power back from that pattern. Your mornings become sacred. In those first 10 minutes, you are building the foundation of your day. If you begin in stress, you carry that forward. If you begin in peace, it guides you. And you may think, but I've never meditated, or my mind is too busy. That is okay. Your mind is not the enemy. It just needs a direction. The stillness I'm inviting you into is not about controlling your thoughts. It's about noticing them without judgment and letting them pass through like clouds. This builds a deep kind of strength, not the kind people see, but the kind that holds you up when no one's looking. As we age, the world begins to send subtle and sometimes loud messages that we are less visible, less valuable, less heard. This is false. But the only way to truly protect yourself from those illusions is to first see them for what they are. And that starts with quiet. That starts with you meeting yourself before the noise of the world has a chance to tell you who you are. This time in the morning becomes your anchor. When you sit in stillness, you're not doing nothing. You're reclaiming something that modern life tries to steal from you. Your awareness. Your awareness. You are not a machine. You are not just here to react. And especially now, in a time when even voices and faces can be imitated by artificial intelligence, the most real thing you can offer the world is your presence. That can be duplicated. Presence is what keeps us human. And when you begin your day grounded in it, you notice more. You respond instead of react. You eat more consciously, move more gently, speak more kindly, all because you created a pause at the start. This simple act, just sitting, breathing, watching the mind, is like sweeping the floor before walking through the house. It clears space. It gives you clarity. And from clarity comes better choices, healthier ones, wiser ones. And if you find that your mind races or you feel restless, that's not failure. That's the process. It means you're waking up not just physically, but mentally and emotionally too. That's where real strength begins. You begin to see how often your thoughts try to pull you into fear, into worry, into rushing. And yet, here you are, just breathing, choosing to be still, choosing to listen. That is an act of power. So before anything else, before the supplements, the stretches, the breakfast, give yourself this, 10 minutes of undistracted presence. Sit quietly, watch the breath, let the world wait. It's been spinning without your input for millions of years. It can wait 10 more minutes. Let this be your daily reminder. You are not behind, you are not broken, and you are not too late. You are right here, and right here is enough to begin. After you've spent a few minutes grounding yourself in stillness, something important happens. You become aware of how your body feels, how your breath moves, how alive the quiet truly is. Yeah. And from that awareness comes the next natural question. How do I nourish this body that carries me through the day? The first thing you place into your body each morning is not just a habit. It's a message. It's a signal to every cell, every organ, every system. So the way we hydrate and nourish ourselves after waking up isn't about following a trend or chasing a diet. It's about respect. It's about care. Many women after 60 find that the body becomes more sensitive. You may feel more stiffness, more dryness, more fatigue in the mornings. That's not weakness. That's wisdom surfacing through the body, asking you to pay closer attention. One of the simplest yet most overlooked ways to do that is by drinking a full glass of water before anything else. Not coffee, not tea, just water. Preferably warm, maybe with a slice of lemon or a pinch of sea salt. You've gone hours without fluid, your cells are dehydrated, your joints are dry, your digestion is sluggish. Water reawakens the body gently. It helps the liver begin its work of filtering, helps your digestion prepare for food, and supports clear thinking. It's the first internal cleanse of the day, not dramatic, not intense, just quiet support. And then comes food. We often think of food in terms of weight or calories or restriction, but I'd like you to think of it differently, as energy. What kind of energy do you want to build in the morning? Calm, steady, grounded energy, or fast, spiking and crashing energy? When we are younger, we can sometimes tolerate rushing into the day with sugar, caffeine, and adrenaline. But now, your body deserves more consideration. It has earned it. A good breakfast after 60 should feel like kindness, not punishment, not urgency. Start simple. A warm bowl of oats with nuts and seeds, a piece of sourdough with avocado and a boiled egg, a smoothie with leafy greens, berries, and a spoon of flax. The goal is not perfection. The goal is support. Protein in the morning helps stabilize blood sugar and keeps your energy from dipping too quickly. Healthy fats nourish the brain and support hormone balance, which even after menopause continues to shift. Fiber keeps digestion moving, which is especially vital as we age. But beyond all these technical details, there's something deeper: eating with presence. Most people rush their meals. They chew without tasting. They eat while reading, watching, scrolling. The body notices that. Digestion is not just a mechanical process, it's emotional too. So when you sit down to eat, even if it's just 10 minutes, be there. Put the food on a plate. Sit at a table. Take a breath before the first bite. You're not doing this for the food, you're doing it for yourself. It's a way of saying, I matter. My health matters. You may have lived decades caring for others, children, partners, careers, but this part of your life is not about retreat. It's about returning to your own needs, your own rhythm, your own intuition. And the way you begin your morning with hydration and nourishment is a quiet but powerful declaration of that return. Some people say, I'm not hungry in the morning. That may be true. But often, it's not because the body doesn't need food. It's because the body is tired of not being heard. When you begin to show up with consistency, the appetite gently comes back. The body begins to trust you again. And that's when healing begins, not just physically, but emotionally. This isn't about doing everything perfectly. Some mornings will be slow, some will be rushed. But if you can give yourself even a small moment of hydration and nourishment each day, done with attention and care, that's enough. Over time, small consistent acts of care become deep foundations of strength. You see, wellness after 60 is not built on extremes. It's built on rituals. Gentle, reliable, nurturing rituals. Drinking warm water before anything else. Choosing whole, balanced food. Sitting down to eat with intention. These are not new ideas. But in a world that moves fast and sells shortcuts, returning to simplicity is revolutionary. When you treat your first sip and bite as sacred, everything else begins to shift. Your energy steadies. Your digestion improves, your mind becomes clearer. But more than anything, you begin to rebuild a relationship with yourself, not based on control, but on respect. Let your first nourishment each day be an act of love, not obligation, a moment of connection, not convenience. Because the way you feed yourself in the morning is not just about food. It's about the life you're choosing to build, one quiet, intentional morning at a time. Once the mind is settled and the body has been gently nourished, there is a natural readiness that follows. Quiet strength begins to stir, not forceful, not urgent, just a quiet invitation to move. And this too is a part of your morning practice. Movement is not only for the young or the athletic, it is for anyone who wants to feel alive in their body, connected to their breath, and steady on their feet. Especially after the age of 60, movement becomes less about performance and more about presence, about keeping the body supple and the spirit awake. Many people think that if they're not doing intense exercise, it doesn't count, but that's a misunderstanding. What your body truly craves now is not stress, it's flow. It wants to move in ways that maintain flexibility, build light strength, and support balance. These are the foundations of long-term health. These are the small daily movements that help you lift a grandchild safely, climb stairs without hesitation, or walk without fear of falling. These are the movements that protect your independence and dignity as you age. So start small, just 10 to 15 minutes in the Before the distractions of the day begin, before you feel pulled in many directions, give your body the gift of attention. Gently roll your shoulders, circle your wrists and ankles, stretch your arms overhead, then down to the floor. Feel your spine lengthen. Let your breath you. Maybe you take a short walk in the garden or around your living room, slowly and consciously. If you're able, do a few bodyweight squats or stand on one leg for balance. These are not exercises. They are reminders to your body that it is still here, still capable. With each small movement, your circulation improves, your joints feel a little looser, your posture improves, and most importantly, your sense of self sharpens. You don't feel like you're dragging your body through the day, you feel like you're inhabiting it. That connection between body and awareness is what turns aging into a graceful process rather than a fearful one. One of the most overlooked aspects of aging is the loss of balance. Not just physical balance, but the deeper sense of stability in daily life. And yet, When we stop moving regularly, our muscles weaken, our reflexes slow, our confidence fades. But when we give just a few minutes each morning to conscious movement, the body remembers. It adapts. It grows stronger, even now. There is no need to push, no need to In fact, that is where many injuries come from, chasing intensity instead of listening to what the body needs. After 60, wisdom says, go gently, but go consistently. There is strength in slow repetition. There is power in showing up every day, even And something else happens when you move with intention in the morning. You change the way you carry yourself throughout the rest of the day. You walk taller. You sit with more ease. You breathe more deeply. Movement isn't just about muscles. It influences your mood, your focus, your sense of vitality. It's a natural antidepressant. a natural energizer. And it requires no gym, no equipment, no perfect clothing, just your presence. Sometimes people say, I don't have time or I'll move later. But later is uncertain, and what matters most is building the habit now while you still can. Not from fear, but from gratitude. Gratitude that this body, even with its aches and changes, still responds to care, still welcomes movement. And don't think of this as a chore. Think of it as a reunion. Each time you stretch, each time you take a conscious step, you are returning to your body, reminding it that it matters, that it is not being forgotten. This builds trust between your awareness and your form. And over time, that trust becomes confidence. The kind that radiates not through words, but through how you move through a room, how you stand, how you breathe, how you meet the world. You do not need to keep up with anyone. You do not need to compare yourself to younger bodies or different shapes. This is not about image. This is about function, about freedom, about the dignity that comes from being able to move through your life without pain, without fear, without limitation. So each morning, move gently, mindfully, with purpose. Stretch what is tight. Strengthen what is weak. Breathe into the spaces that feel stuck. It's not about changing your body. It's about reclaiming your relationship with it. And let this movement be a celebration, not a task. Because the simple truth is this: a body in motion tends to stay in motion. And your life, your joy, your freedom lives in that motion. Once you've sat in silence, nourished yourself, and gently moved your body, there's one more thing to do before the day begins in full. And this, though it may seem small, has the power to shape not just your morning, but your life. It's something I call your anchor habit. Just one intentional act every morning that reconnects you with what matters most. Not what's urgent, not what the world demands, but what is truly meaningful to you. At this stage of life, many things have changed. Responsibilities may have shifted, children may be grown, careers may have slowed down or ended. And in that space, a new question arises. Now what? The world is often quiet about how to live with purpose after 60. But I want to remind you, this chapter is not an afterthought. It is not a winding down, it is a return. A return to yourself and to a deeper form of purpose that doesn't have to prove anything to anyone. That's where the anchor habit comes in. It doesn't have to be complicated. Maybe it's writing one sentence in a journal. Maybe it's reading one paragraph of something that inspires you. Maybe it's lighting a candle and sitting with a thought or speaking an affirmation to yourself out loud. The form doesn't matter. What matters is that it's yours and that you do it with sincerity. When you do this first thing in the morning, before the noise of the day can interfere, you are planting a seed of clarity, a seed of peace, a seed of inner strength. And with time, it grows. That single act, done consistently, becomes a thread that weaves through your entire day. It reminds you of who you are no matter what happens around you. We live in a time when distraction is everywhere. Our attention is constantly being pulled, bent, bought. And this is especially true in the digital world, where images and voices, some even artificially created, try to shape how we think, feel, and act. That's why it's more important than ever to begin each day by turning inward instead of outward. When you start with your own words, your own thoughts, your own values, you become less reactive and more intentional. Less swayed by appearances and more anchored in truth. Some days, your anchor habit may feel natural. Other days, it may feel forced. That's normal. It's not about always feeling inspired. It's about choosing to return even when you don't feel like it. That consistency, that return, is what makes it powerful. The act itself is simple, but what it builds over time is not. For example, if you begin the day by writing one thing you're grateful for, even if it's something small, a warm bed, a kind word, the way sunlight falls through your window, you begin to train your mind to look for beauty. You begin to shift your internal focus from what's missing to what's present. And this quiet shift can soften everything. It doesn't remove challenges, but it reminds you of your capacity to meet them. If you choose to read or reflect on a meaningful passage each morning, you are nourishing the mind just as you nourish the body. You so nourish the body. You're feeding it not with noise, but with wisdom. Something to carry with you, something to return to when the world feels chaotic. Or maybe your anchor is something even simpler, standing by the window with your tea and looking at the sky. No words, no effort, just being, that too is an anchor. Because what anchors you is not always something you do. It is something you are willing to notice, willing to feel, willing to meet with your full attention. As you build this habit, you may notice your days feel different, calmer, more steady, not because life has changed, but because you have changed in how you meet it. You've shifted your first action of the day from reaction to reflection, from consumption to creation, from noise to stillness, and there is strength in that, quiet strength, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself, but is felt in the way you speak, walk, listen, the kind that makes other people feel safe around you, not because you fix everything, but because you carry yourself with presence. You may be 60, 70, 80 years old, but this inner work, this act of meeting yourself every morning is timeless. It is never too late to begin, and it is never too late to deepen. So let each morning be more than just a routine. Let it be a ritual, a reminder, a return. Choose one thing, small, consistent, meaningful, and make it yours, not for the world to see, but for you to feel. Because when you start your day with that kind of presence, the rest of the day begins to follow your lead.